Hi, everybody. This is Darren Dunlap from the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber. I'm just so pleased today to be joined by Melissa Sobolik from the Great Plains Food Bank. Melissa, we see you everywhere, and we see Great Plains Food Bank everywhere. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to check in with you. So how are you, and how are things at the Great Plains Food Bank?
Well, thanks, Darren, for having us on and for chatting with us. I was just recapping with our staff yesterday, and we have now been in COVID fighting mode for 11 weeks. And I mean, I think as a community and as my staff and as an organization, we've been in overdrive just responding to the growing needs, which really started off in the middle of March. And so as soon as we had our first cases of COVID, our food pantries were turning to us saying, how do we adjust all of our distributions? How do we make sure that people don't go hungry while we're socially distancing and keeping people out and, wearing masks and gloves? And this is all new to us. How do we do it? And so I think our network of food pantries has really been responsive, trying to figure out how to completely redefine hunger relief in a very short amount of time. And they're doing that, and they're also serving more people. So food pantries have shared that it's anywhere between a 40 and 44% increase that is turning to them. And at our mobile food pantry distributions in some very small rural communities, we're seeing between a 71 and 79% increase. And that happened overnight. And I think, we're doing the best we can, even though sometimes it feels like we're scrambling. We want to make sure that nobody is going hungry and there's more people turning to us than ever before.
Wow. That's incredible. 40 to 44% here, and up to almost 80% in other parts. So, how's the response been from the communities? And as far as volunteers and donations, has it been able to keep up?
Initially, as soon as schools closed and colleges and, we had to social distance, our volunteers plummeted. And rightfully so. People were scared to be in groups and they want to be kept safe. They needed to stay at home. But once we really adapted our protocols and made sure that we could keep volunteers 6 feet apart, we gave them gloves, they had masks, we limited the amount of groups and the numbers that can come in. As soon as we put the call out, people responded. And we really pushed for a couple of weeks to get people in because we were running behind in our projects. And I'm glad to say that that has not been the case throughout the month of May and even into April. People just responded. They heard the need. I think a lot of people were a little tired of maybe being cooped home, and they could go and volunteer for an hour and give back with their kids, and it was a really rewarding experience.
Well, and I have seen that there's been some artists who've done some online concerts for the benefit of Great Plains Food Bank. So would you just touch on that for just a little bit too, please?
Absolutely. That's, really thanks to our incredible development and communication team saying, okay, if we can't be out in public and having events, how can we keep people engaged? And we have so many musicians from North Dakota. And as soon as we put the call out and said, are you interested in doing a virtual concert? Everyone signed up. And I don't think we're done yet. We still have some artists that are on the docket and we want to get them into the rotation. But, we've had country, we've had rock, we have had some incredible concerts, and, it really appealed to people of all ages. And not only did it bring in dollars, but it allowed people to enjoy a local concert from the comfort of their home.
Oh man, we are so starving for entertainment, and it's so great of the artists to do that. I sure appreciate that. So, one of the things that I saw you post, and I was interested in following up with you on, was your Farmers to Family Food Box program. Would you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Absolutely. That's something that really came about pretty quickly, and it came about with USDA. And so not only we have the coronavirus in increased numbers, at the same time we're hearing stories of farmers and producers who are dumping, dairy farmers are dumping milk, or they're plowing under their fields of produce because they can't get it to market. And USDA really responded by saying, okay, how can we purchase that food and get it into the hands of those who need it really quickly? And so they launched this new program, the Farmers to Families program, and we are able to bring in 8 to 9 semi-loads of product a week. And that's coming into North Dakota. That is fresh quality produce, meat, and dairy that so many of our farmers were struggling to get rid of. It's keeping the trucking companies going by bringing that product into us. And then we're turning it around to get it to people immediately. We're doing a distribution at the Fargo Dome, and we expect over 1,000 households to come and get a box of food. And, I think we really had to adapt our programming a little bit to make sure that we could handle this product, get it in and get it out really quickly. But I have been just amazed at the volunteers and our staff and the communities who just say, whatever you need a parking lot, you need volunteers, you need a forklift, you can count on us, because we all have this commitment to helping our neighbors.
Melissa, you briefly touched on the fact that some of the needs in the outlying communities and things like that. So maybe people aren't aware of the magnitude of the footprint that Great Plains Food Bank has. So could you just give us a little idea about how that is?
Absolutely. So the Great Plains Food Bank is the one and only food bank in the state of North Dakota and Clay County, Minnesota. And so we serve the entire state, every single county, no matter how big or small in North Dakota and Clay County. And every single month, what happens is all of the food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters place an online order from us. So we're like a grocery store for all of the food pantries across the state. And we're getting food donated to us from across the region, across the country, locally, primarily in bulk product that's coming to us from the food industry or manufacturers who maybe can't sell it at market, or it's nearing its code date, or there is some sort of packaging flaw. If they, created a box and the logo little crooked, they're not going to sell it at market, so they'll actually donate it to us, and then we in turn get that out to food pantries, who then get it out to clients. And then we also operate, Darren, as you know, a lot of direct service programs to fill gaps and needs. When we heard that there were, kids in the FM area who were going hungry on the weekends, we immediately started launching the backpack program, and that's been in existence now for about 11 years. And so we're always trying new and creative ways to get food to people, so no one is going without.
Well, that transitions very good into my next question. So I know that during the school year, I think many schools were providing meals for the students while they were educating from home. But I don't know, and I thought maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that, how many schools are going to continue that through the summer, or if they don't, does that add even a little more burden to the Great Plains Food Bank?
It does. And I think, the interesting thing was as soon as schools closed, they found a way to get nutrition to those kids who were relying on school breakfast and lunch. And they have done it in very great and creative ways. And we have been very fortunate that in the FM and West Fargo area, schools stepped up. And they're making sure kids are not going without by doing the drive-through meals. We know that in most of the schools in the area, the drive-through meal, what we're trying to figure out right now is if the schools are going to continue that for July, August, September, or if they're going to stop in June. And if they do, that's the opportunity for us to step in and say, okay, let's make sure these kiddos aren't going hungry. What do we need to do? And typically in the summer, we have provided some to-go meals in parks for kids. Schools have been feeding during summer schools. And this summer is like nothing we've ever seen before. So we're trying to come up with a creative solution. So I don't have a super clear answer for you yet, Darren, but this is a top priority for us, and we want to make sure no one's going without.
I think I'll wrap up with this, Melissa. The whole pandemic has really created a new normal. And I know that we don't know exactly what the normal is going to be going forward, but with you and your team, have you started projecting out? Have you been able to take a breath and actually start looking into the future as to where you see that the needs are going to be, and what do you have planned for the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I know I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you when things would go back. We've been preparing our staff that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And we will have a new normal, and we don't know entirely what that looks like yet. But we are a member of Feeding America, which is a national organization of food banks. And they have been doing a lot of research on what does food insecurity look like as a result of the pandemic and how long will this go on. And so they actually released some toolkits to us this week. So we're looking at those, trying to figure out, how long will this last? How long did the recession last in 2008 and 9? How have our donors and food donations and the need increased during disasters, and what can we learn from that to really predict what it's going to look like for us? We are telling our staff to prepare for a 12-month reopens. That doesn't mean that everyone goes back to their job that they had before. It doesn't mean that kids are going back to school in the same way as before. The economic challenges, I think we're just starting to see, and that'll continue for a while. And so this week, the food bank did announce that we expect to launch a $12 million response across North Dakota and Clay County, Minnesota, as a result of the pandemic. And that means that we need to bring in more food than we've ever brought in before. One of the things that happened almost immediately was food donations went down. People were going to grocery stores, they were stocking up, there was less to donate. And so we have been forced to actually purchase most of the food that we're distributing right now. And that's not how food banks operate. That's very expensive when you're talking $25,000 to $30,000 for a truckload of food. We'll fundraise and bring that in to make sure that over the next year we do not run out of food and that everyone who needs assistance can get it. So this is definitely a big response. I think we've been in response mode, and now we need to shift to recovery mode and think about what that looks like. But we are in it for the long haul.
Well, Melissa, first of all, I thank you very much for taking the time today. And on behalf of the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce, our communities, our state, we can't thank you enough for the efforts of yourself and your team. It was so wonderful. 2 years ago, we had the great opportunity to recognize the Great Plains Food Bank as our not-for-profit of the year. And so we were able to see some video and learn more about it. And it was eye-opening. And the work that your team has been doing specifically during this pandemic just goes to show how valuable a job that you guys have and what a valuable role you play in our community. So on behalf of our communities, the Chamber, Melissa, thank you very, very much for this. I hope people remember the Great Plains Food Bank. Remember, get your food in there, get your donations to them. They serve a wonderful purpose for our region. Melissa, you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Darren, and please extend our thanks to the Chamber. We are pretty proud of our not-for-profit of the year, and our trophy is still front and center as soon as you walk in. So we are very proud of that, and thank you.
That's wonderful. Well, this year's will be on in August, so we had to move it back from May. There was a little something going on so that we couldn't really have our regular event. So we're very much looking forward to recognizing all of those businesses of the year. But again, Melissa, thank you very much for what you guys do for us. You make our community so much better. So best wishes to you and your team.
Thank you, Darren.